So I speak to a lot of leaders who want to really harness the future potential of their organization, of them as leaders and of their people. And they want a quick step plan, strategy that they can follow, laid out. And they will immediately want to get into the doing of that realizing of potential. The reality is that the starting point needs to be far more visceral and emotive than that. They actually need to start by declaring a real intention of the future that they want to create. I have personal experience of this. I used to run a marketing agency. We shifted it about 4 or 5 years ago, and we wanted to become a digital transformation advisory, a people-focused digital transformation advisory. The only problem is I had 80 to 100 members of staff that had come to our business wanting a career in digital marketing. And we had to transform our company into this new entity, an entity which in essence as an advisory was going to take us from 80 people to, we weren't sure, somewhere between 10 or 20 people. How did we take people on a journey like that when half of them knew, more than half of them knew, that they wouldn't be involved at the end? And we did it by creating a very clear, intentional picture of what that future looked like. We did it in a way that would resonate, that would be emotive to those members of staff, so that they wanted to come along for that journey, irrespective of how long they were on that journey. For some of them, they knew they wouldn't be there at the end point, but they were excited about that change and what it meant and the things that we could create on the way. And that's a really good lesson that I learned about painting a picture of potential. And it's something that we've seen with the organizations that have transformed the most and have been able to really realize their potential more than others. There's a great transformational story about a company called Dong. It's not that type of company, which is the Danish oil and natural gas company. And they were a dirty energy company, and the bottom fell out of the natural gas market. And it was like 90% decrease. And they had to transform in order to survive, which is another key point. To have a burning platform doesn't half help when you want to transform and then get people to work towards a new vision. Anyway, they decided to get in a guy called Henrik Poulsen. Henrik Poulsen had been responsible for the turnaround of Lego, the toy manufacturer. One of the key things here, and I think what we're trying to get to, I'm not going to take you through the whole story of the transformation of Ørsted, but when Henrik Poulsen was interviewed about it, and he was asked, what was it that drove the success? And of course, there were lots of little parts, but he came back to, more importantly than anything else, setting that vision that resonated with the people that worked there. Because he could have gone in with the industry in tatters and he could have got rid of and retrenched most of the staff, but he didn't. He took a different approach. He set them on a new track. And the first thing he said was, today, we are entirely dedicated to green energy. He was setting that stall out with a very, very simple message, but something that people could latch onto and that resonated with them. He said, and he described it in a way in which people could take it that step further. He described it as a transformation, as a fundamental change in their form or their substance as a business. He likened it to liquid becoming gas. He likened it to a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, from lead turning into gold. Something that was like, whoa, that's a big thing we're doing here. But you know what? If we can become a green energy, like that transformation. Now, suddenly what that did for the staff there was it did two fundamental things. And these are critical things. If you want to harness the future for potential of your teams, of your people, of yourself, of your culture. The first thing he did was he was creating a beacon of light. He was creating that vision of the future, that whatever happened, wherever this road, this strategy traversed, that people had something that they could pin on and go, that's where we're going. And it helped to make decisions in that sense. So when you're in a very crisis-driven transformation space and you need to change, often you go back to the tactical, you go back to the strategic way of thinking. Okay, now the moment you get into strategy, you do not become adaptable. You just don't. You're going to follow the plan. There's economic pressures, there's financial pressures, there's the inertia of the way in which we've always done things. And that's terrible for adaptability. You're not going to take any risks when you're living in that state. In order to get the motivation to adapt and change, you need to work on purpose, on play, on potential. And having a beacon of light, something, that potential element in particular, that beacon of light, say, this is what we can become. It means that if the strategy is not working, the people in that organization can make a decision and go, well, actually, this is going wrong, but there's our potential. That's what we're heading towards. Let's change. Let's adapt. Let's do it this way. And if that responsibility is disseminated down in the organization, it means people can adapt quickly and know that they can always come back to their boss, to their leader, and go, well, you know what? That might be the strategy, but we're heading for this point of green energy. And right now, this isn't working. So I made the decision because that's going to get us there quicker. And they learn from it. There's a whole bunch of other things that come into play. But the first thing is it gives that guiding light, that beacon of light, which enables adaptability. When you've got that adaptability, people can start to realize their potential and not get stuck into a plan or strategy that might have been laid out for 2-3 years and just isn't working. The second thing, and equally important, is governance. Work in organizations where we've got to measure things, where we've got to know, what we're doing. And those governance decisions, if we've got that beacon of light, we can start to assess things and measure things, the decisions we make against that governance. And our strategy can evolve and shift and change, but always heading towards that picture of potential. So if you want to harness the real future of your organization, the starting point is to create and turn and tune into an intentional reality, a compelling declaration of the future that you want to become. A great way to do this is storytelling. Storytelling is something that can get to us all at a deeper emotive level. It can allow us to see things if we close our eyes in the future. It can allow us to be somewhere that we're not already there. And if we can start to visualize that in our minds, it helps everyone to move and shift forward and be more comfortable with that change. So one storytelling technique that we use with organizations trying to create that picture of potential of the future that will enable them to, harness the future potential of their organization is to ask people within the organization to come up with magazine articles or stories that were written by a famous author about the organization, about the people, about the leaders in 7, 8, 9, 10 years time, however far ahead you want to set that picture of potential, is to write those stories and in groups craft them and come up with those stories. What it does is two things. One, it can give you some things quite tangible and some ideas can come out of it as to where you want to go. But two, you are gaining that buy-in of the staff now to move forward, and that resistance to change comes down. And it's a very simple technique and tool. And you can even turn it into something quite creative at the end, bring those stories together. Get some professional copywriters in to hone them and fine tune them, and actually turn them into a book or turn them into a coffee table book or a magazine itself. People have that to reference back to. The importance of having a little bit of distance there, 7, 8 years in the future, is it's far enough away that people can dream and imagine, but not too far that it becomes, this isn't going to be anything that we're going to do. And the current realities don't restrict you with that time period. So there's just maybe a little bit of my story and a little bit of some other people's stories about how important that transformative vision, that picture of potential is in terms of harnessing the future potential of your organization, of your culture, of your teams, of your leadership. I hope it was useful.